Lake Mead has found itself getting more attention in the news again recently, and we're going to get you up to speed with the drought situation in southern Nevada with this Lake Mead water levels update video for May 2023. Lake Mead's water levels have recently gone up with the billions of gallons of water that were released from Lake Powell by the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation. The continued increase in water releases from Lake Powell until the end of May is expected to keep raising the water levels at Lake Mead, which is great news for the southwest region of the United States. After years of drought and severe water loss, the recent rise in water levels has brought much needed relief and hope to the people who depend on Lake Mead for their daily water supply. The water levels at Lake Mead have been a concern for a long time now, and it is the largest reservoir in the United States, supplying water to millions of people, farms, and industries in the Southwest. The almost 4-foot increase in water levels at Lake Mead in April is an excellent beginning to the year, as it brings the lake's water levels closer to where it was a year ago. The water loss experienced last year was severe and ended up with questions over the water drought in Las Vegas making international headlines that I'm sure many of you saw. The government had projected that Lake Mead would drop by 30 feet more this year, which was a staggering amount. There were concerns about the lake reaching dead pool level, where water can no longer flow through the Hoover Dam downstream to states like California and Arizona. However, the recent rise in water levels is a positive sign and provides some hope that the worst-case scenario may be behind us. The increase in water levels at Lake Mead is due to the persistent snowmelt in the Colorado Rockies, which is the primary source of water for the Colorado River Basin. Additionally, the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation conducted a high-flow experiment, or HFE for short, in April, which helped restore sandbanks in the Grand Canyon and raise the water levels at Lake Mead by more than 2 feet in just a week. The HFE project and the increased releases from Lake Powell have had a positive impact on the water levels at Lake Mead and are expected to continue to do so for at least this month. We'll be waiting to hear if the Bureau will continue to release more water over the summertime in Lake Mead. According to a recent announcement from the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation, the water released from Glen Canyon Dam will increase significantly for the month of May. The volume of water that will be released is almost double the amount that was being released before the high-flow experiment that took place recently. It was during this high-flow experiment that the dam's release flow surged to almost 40,000 cubic feet per second, and a video recording captured the incredible moment when the dam's valves opened, sending massive amounts of water downriver. The primary objective of the HFE was to restore the sandbanks in the Grand Canyon, but it also helped the situation with Lake Mead. As a result of that success from the high-flow experiment, the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation has decided to increase the amount of water released this month. The decision is expected to have a significant impact on the water level at Lake Mead. With water levels in the lake already showing signs of improvement, the increased release of water is expected to further increase the lake's water levels. This is a positive development, given that the lake has been struggling to maintain its water levels due to the ongoing drought in the southwest region that has been going on now for more than 20 years. The Bureau published a statement on the situation stating Reclamation has increased May's release volume from Glen Canyon Dam to just over 1 million acre-feet, Reclamation wrote in a Facebook post. Hourly releases during May will fluctuate from a low of approximately 14,051 cubic feet per second during the early morning hours to a high of 18,909 cubic feet per second in the afternoons and evenings. Keep in mind that Lake Mead started the year off with a water level of 1,044.96 feet and began the month of May at 1,049.77 feet due to some of the recent changes. Lake Mead is currently about 30 feet lower than it was just 2 years ago. The Bureau also put out a statement saying that the higher monthly release volumes as a result of the dam's planned annual release for water year 2023 being increased from 7 million acre-feet up to 9.5 million acre-feet because of the high snowpack in the Rockies. The Reclamation intends to deliver the additional water up to 2.5 million acre-feet before the end of the water year, which is September 30th, 2023. Reclamation continues to closely monitor the observed inflow into Lake Powell and will continue to adjust Glen Canyon Dam's annual release volume each month as needed. The rapid rise in the water level of Lake Mead has resulted in an intriguing sight of the sunken speedboat that became known by some as the monolith of Lake Mead. This boat made international news last year when it began to stick out of the water. It was surrounded by the once hidden murky green water in the cove until the water levels receded low enough that you could walk out to the boat and physically touch it. Yours truly made several visits to Lake Mead in 2022 to keep you updated with the latest developments on the water levels at the time, including the status of the infamous speedboat. It was pretty fascinating to see how the changing water levels can expose or conceal landmarks and objects over time. Not only was the speedboat more noticeable with each visit as the water level declined, but the amount of vegetation that grew in the surrounding area to the point that it could be as high as your waist. The recent rise in the water level has provided a unique opportunity for visitors to catch a glimpse of the submerged boat, although you definitely won't be able to walk out there anymore to take your photo. In April, Lake Mead's water levels started at 1,046.06 feet above sea level. However, in just 6 days, the water level had dropped by 1/4 foot, causing some concern among experts and the public. Fortunately, the water level began to rise shortly after that, much to everyone's relief. Over the course of the next 3 weeks, from April 7th to May 1st, the water level of the lake rose over 3 feet to 1,049.77 feet. This rapid rise in water levels is particularly encouraging given the severe water loss experienced in the region last year. Every month, the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation conducts the most probable 24-hour study to forecast the water levels at Lake Mead. According to the study in March, the Bureau estimated that Lake Mead's water level would reach 1,036.3 feet by the end of April. However, the actual water level on that day was 13.5 feet higher than the projected levels. The Reclamation updated its prediction in the middle of April, stating that Lake Mead would increase to a level of 1,048.8 feet by the end of the month. While this was definitely closer to the estimate, it was still off by about a foot. The Reclamation's news release on April 20th stated that it had already commenced increased water releases from Lake Powell due to the heavy snowpack. According to the latest projections from the Reclamation, the Lake Mead's water level is expected to rise by another 17.5 feet through October of this year before experiencing another drop. Despite recent increases in its water level, Lake Mead is still historically low because of a mega drought that has persisted in the Southwest for the past 23 years. In fact, the lake is still 179.22 feet below full pool, which is its maximum depth. Despite these water levels and the closing of numerous boat launch ramps, the lake is still available for recreational use by the public. One thing to keep in mind about Lake Powell's water level is that it is still increasing despite the high flow experiment to transfer billions of gallons of water to Lake Mead. In the past month, Lake Powell has risen over 4.5 feet, but still more than 175 feet below its maximum depth. This is ultimately positive news for the millions of people who depend on Lake Mead for their daily water supply across the US and Mexico, and particularly for the overall water security in the southwest region of the United States. We will be on the lookout to see what the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation decides to do about possibly releasing more water from Lake Powell again into Lake Mead. Thanks for watching. I'm Jacob, and this is My Life in Vegas.